friends, and welcome back to my homestead. Today is a big preservation day. Well, it's always a preservation day in the summer on our homestead, because when you grow in abundance and you have an abundance today, store away for tomorrow. So today I'm going to be showing you how I like to freeze cabbage. Okay, there are many different ways you can preserve cabbage. One of them, you can make sauerkraut, and my most popular video on my YouTube channel is about how to make Russian sauerkraut that I make using the fermentation style. Okay, so I'm going to leave a link below and above, so go check it out. You'll enjoy that video. But today I want to freeze some cabbage. Why? Because we Russians, Ukrainians, we cook with cabbage all the time. All the time. We put it in soups and stews. We just stew it along with a little bit of bacon. I have a video about that as well. I will leave a link as well. It came out so delicious. But anyway, so I want to show you how to freeze cabbage. Okay? And I'm going to freeze it in two different ways. One with blanching and the other without blanching. And the reason is because blanching will give my frozen cabbage longer shelf life, say up to a year, okay? Whereas non-blanched, I have to use up within a couple of months. So what I have here is a scale, and I just wanted to get the weight of this bad boy, and let's see how big this little head is. It's 5.5 pounds. It's a beautiful cabbage that I have from my garden. We have planted a lot of cabbage this spring, I should say, and we had to deal with a lot of unpleasantries such as earwigs and bugs, but I have to say we have succeeded. So I'm just removing the outer layers, and I'm gonna cut in half, okay? And you can freeze cabbage in wedges, or you can shred it. And I'm gonna shred it. And I'm gonna shred it, why? Because then it's much easier for me to use. So I'm just gonna put the side, one half aside. I'm gonna quarter this, okay? Should have used a bigger knife, but it's all right. Okay, put this guy aside. And now I'm gonna start shredding. Now, if you guys have any kind of a mandolin that you can use for shredding, and you can shred it any way you want to. But my mama taught me how to shred cabbage, and it doesn't scare me, and I can do it. And I like to do it very, very thin. So when it breaks up, it's gonna be thin, nice little pieces just like this, okay? And if you want even smaller, after you have cut them, you can go ahead and cut even smaller. Why do I like them to cut small like that? It's not like shredded into ridiculously small pieces, but I like it because when you're putting it in a soup or putting it in a stew, I mean, we make our Borsch, and one of the big ingredients is cabbage, right? I don't like it to be so big that it doesn't fit on your spoon. I like it to be manageable size. So I'm just going to cut them into like a little strips. So this one came out about an inch and a half long, and I don't know, it's maybe, I don't know how the measurements, but they're nice and thin little slices. So I'm going to just slice a bunch of it right now. Let me cut out the core. I don't need it. I'll give it to my animals. All right, and I'm just going to keep slicing it, okay? And like I said again, you can slice it any way you want to. It's how your family likes it. The only difference is that when the time for blanching comes in, it will be a difference in times. So for example, a big wedge needs a whole lot more time than a shredded cabbage, okay? So this is why I like it shredded, because it's gonna blanch faster, it's gonna cool off faster, it's gonna freeze easier, and it's gonna be a lot more convenient for me to use it in winter time. We believe in being frugal, growing as much of our own food as possible. And when there's a sale, and yes, there are sales at a certain time of the year, don't forget the St. Patrick's Day, right guys? So you can go ahead and buy a lot of cabbage at that time for a very low price, and you can store it away. Make sauerkraut, you can can it, but you can also freeze it. So I'm going to be freezing it, and I'm going to show you the whole process from the beginning to the end. So the equipment we're going to need for freezing our cabbage today, obviously the cabbage, shredded cabbage, I'm going to need a pot of boiling water, a pot with, or a bowl with ice water, some sort of a colander where I can drain the cabbage. I'm going to quickly throw it on the towel just to remove extra moisture, and then I'm going to put it on the baking sheet with some parchment paper. Okay, it's going to be with parchment paper because that's how it's going to freeze in overnight, or at least 10-12 hours in the freezer. It's going to freeze before I actually package it in the final packaging. Okay, so let's begin by blanching. So this, because it's shredded, it's going to blanch only for 2 minutes. So I'm going to, as soon as I throw it in, the water temperature drops and the boiling stops. Okay, so but as soon as I start seeing some bubbles as far as boiling, I'm going to mark 2 minutes. Okay, so this is a quite quick process. All right, so blanching only 2 minutes. And now I'm just going to take it out of the boiling water and quickly shock it in the ice bath. And I'm just keeping a colander in it because it will be a whole lot easier for me to deal with it when I take it out of it. Okay, so the color hasn't changed at all. Then it's not boiled, it's just quickly kind of like blanched in the boiling water, because the blanching helps to remove those enzymes that speed up breakdown of a vegetable, okay, that all vegetables and fruit naturally have. Okay, this is the reason why this will give it a longer shelf life. All right, I think I'm done with that. So I'm just quickly going to blanch it in ice water, just to stop the cooking process. Otherwise we're going to have cooked cabbage, and that's not what we want. All right, it's amazing how fast the ice melted. Okay, now I'm just going to strain it, and I have a towel ready, but you can do anything you want, but you can use paper towel if you want to. I'm just getting the extra water out. Okay, and I'm just going to dump it on the towel just to sort of remove extra liquid before I freeze it. Because here's the thing, if I freeze it with too much water on it, it's going to crystallize, and I don't like how the cabbage comes out. Okay, or anything how it comes out. So just give it a minute for it to dry up before I transfer it onto my cookie sheet for final freezing. Now if you are blanching cabbage in wedges, you need more time, and different literature will suggest different things. Some say anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. Other places say if you're gonna big chunks, then it's up to 9 minutes. Okay, I think this cabbage is ready to go on a cookie sheet, and I'm gonna try to do a single layer if all possible. Okay, if all possible, I'm going to try to do it in a single layer, but it's really not going to be. And I'm going to go put it in my freezer for at least 12 hours, but not for too long. This is beautiful. And then I can use it in soups and stews, sauteed on a side in a cold winter. Yes, you can always go and buy it, but it's not going to be your own homegrown. And since we don't have a root cellar, I have to preserve it somehow. So it's going in the freezer. Okay, so one was blanched, and the other half of the cabbage I'm going to freeze without blanching. And I'm also going to shred it just like I did the other one, but I'm not going to blanch it because I'm going to be using it quite quickly. And I'm also going to freeze it, flash freeze it I call it. Flash freeze it on the cookie sheet. So I'm going to get a cookie sheet ready. I'm going to line it with some parchment paper as well. And then I'm going to freeze it first 12 hours. And then after that, I'm going to just put it in my food saver bags. And if you don't have food saver bags, you just use them, use any freezer, Ziploc bags, whatever is convenient to you. So here's my cabbage. And again, you can shred it in any way you want to. But I'm going to shred it in a way that's convenient to me, okay? You guys can chop them in squares if your family prefers squares. We like to shred them nice and thin. Okay, and again, the pieces should be manageable size because I want it to fit on my spoon or something that will be convenient for me to cook with. So you guys decide which way is best for you. You may even freeze them in wedges, but I never done it on wedges freezing without blanching, so I don't know, I cannot recommend. Someone asked me recently why I find it to be important to store food away. And I always say that you don't know what's tomorrow is gonna hold. And if you have an abundance today and you don't know what to do with it, and your garden is producing a lot, and your loved ones are giving you a lot of vegetables, and you just don't know what to do with them, and you're eating enough, but you just don't need so much, right? Store them away. I mean, there are many different reasons why people store away. So see my pieces, I'm gonna just drop them on a cookie sheet, just like that. Okay, just like this. I'm gonna try to do it in a single layer if possible. All right. There could be loss of a job or a changes in the finances in the family, or could be disturbed distribution or of food or something like that. You never know. And a lot of people thought, you know, that everything that I've been teaching and talking about was far-fetched until what happened last year in 2020, and everybody all of a sudden decided, oh yes, I don't think I like the produce aisle being so empty. So, well, let's not wait for the produce aisle to be empty. Let's do something about it. And one of the ways is that we can stock up our pantry shelves for our family. And in a pinch, we have something to feed our families with, okay? So that's one of the main reasons why I like to store away my food for my family. All right, I'm almost done shredding this cabbage. Again, you guys can use any tools you want, a mandolin. I have a bad luck with it because I tend to cut my fingers a lot, so I just rather do it manually. Doesn't take that long. You can use a food processor to shred it if you have a food processor. I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way with a knife. Some people ask me, why do I like to freeze it on a cookie sheet just like this rather than putting it straight into a Ziploc bag or food saver bag? Well, I have a reason, because I like how it freezes pieces individually and then I put it in a bag tomorrow, 12 hours after everything is frozen. So I'm just fluffing it all up. I tried to get it in a single layer. It really did not help. I mean, it's not enough space. The cookie sheet is kind of small, but still. So I'm gonna put it in the freezer till tomorrow, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in 12 hours. So about 12 hours later, actually I think this was a little bit longer than 12 hours. Everything is nice and frozen. So I need to work fast before it begins to thaw out. And I'm gonna be putting them in plastic bags for my food saver. But if you don't have plastic bags for food saver, you can always use freezer Ziploc bags of some sort. Just try to, I'm gonna try to get rid of air as much as possible. But I am happy that I have this food saver machine. So I'm just gonna fill up my bags. And again, I always think about what kind of portion I need. So when I take it out, I can use it for one portion only. Because you don't want to defrost it and then freeze it again what was not used. So I'm gonna probably like fill up one bag. That will be enough for one portion for me. And you guys can decide what kind of portion you need. So here's my bag, and I'm just gonna put it in a food saver. That's going to remove excess air. And it's gonna seal it for me. Again, if you don't have one of these machines, that's all right. Just freezer bag would work. Just try to eliminate as much of the air as possible. And I'm gonna label as what it is, if it's blanched or unblanched, because remember guys, I have 2 different types, and the unblanched is gonna be used up first for the next 2-3 months. But what's unblanched can stay up in my freezer for up to a year. I know some literature is confusing. Some literature says 6 months, the others say 9 months. But I can tell you, it can stay in a freezer much longer than that. It's gonna go in soups, stews, or just sauteed with some sausage or bacon or with salad that I make. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to save your cabbage. If you're able to store it in a freezer, that's fine. If you have a way to put it in a root cellar, God bless you. So anyway, be encouraged and try something new.